Next up, at UFC 266, we have Chris Daukaus versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. I nailed that. Chris Daukaus, 11-3 overall, riding a 4-fight win streak. Shamil, 20-5, 3-2 in his last 5. This fight has been booked 3 times, I think, or this is the 3rd time since July. It is a battle of the heavyweight strikers. They tried to do it in July. We're finally going to get it in September. Shamil is a solid boxer with good counter strikes and decent wrestling. I actually think he's somewhat of an accomplished wrestler, I think, like technically speaking, but he's not been very effective in the UFC with his wrestling. He took down Derek Lewis 4 times and was still knocked out. He only has 3 takedowns outside of that fight, and he's somewhat of a brawler. He can make it a firefight. It definitely has more power than Daukaus does. I mean, Daukaus has a ton of knockouts, and he does that really well, but a lot of that I feel like is speed and angles, where Shamil has just more raw power, but he's not as clean of a striker as Daukaus is. We haven't seen him fight in 2 years, and 2 years ago in his last fight, he was knocked out by Curtis Blades, and he's now 40 years old. Chris Daukaus, very good striker, solid boxing, very fast for the heavyweight division. He ties in his combinations well. He should definitely be the more technical fighter here, but he definitely needs to avoid the big shots from Shamil. Even if Shamil comes with a grapple-heavy game plan, Daukaus is a black belt on the ground, but we've never seen him taken down. We've never seen him taken down. I haven't seen him on his back. 0 takedowns in the UFC. So there's question marks there. We don't know what that means. We don't know what he's going to look like when he's on the mat. We have no idea what that, what's going to happen in that situation. He may get taken down and be there for 15 minutes, and that's it. He may pop right back up. We just haven't seen it. His takedown defense has held up really well. But I don't think this fight's going to end up on the mat. I think Chris comes forward, uses technical striking, puts on a pace, and honestly should put Shamil out. I think Chris Daukaus wins this. I love Chris Daukaus at $8,800 for DraftKings. And at the 1.5 round line, that's a hard line. I mean, probably the over, honestly, but that's a hard round line. But I do like Daukaus quite a bit in this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Chris Daukaus, honestly, is a real deal prodigy in the heavyweight division. And I think the UFC knows it. And I think this is a lamb to slaughter in this situation with Shamil. The only thing that would worry me would be if Shamil was like a big heavyweight with a really, really good gas tank and wrestling on top of it, because we've never really seen Chris in late in fights. He's had a ton of first-round finishes because he is that good. So that's the only kind of real question mark is how is his gas tank lately, if he has to go there. But Shamil, the reason he lost that Derek Lewis fight, he ended up on his back against Derek Lewis. I think Derek Lewis even like kind of halfway took him down because
he did. Yeah, he got to take down that fight.
So he doesn't have a gas tank either. He's not an incredible striker. I think Chris is the real deal. I think Chris is going to be in my lineup, and this is like the quadruple lock of the week, knockout kings, whatever you got to do. I'll put a bet on Chris to finish this fight. I think he's a real deal, and I think this was set up for him to win.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, listen, Shamil, like I said, I think he is like an accomplished wrestler. I think like if you do your research, wrestling will come up over and over, but the reality is he doesn't use it in his fights. And when he did use it, he still lost. So he's not like this dominant wrestler that can just impose his will. He's not Curtis Blades. And we watched him get knocked out by Curtis Blades, stopped by Curtis Blades. So, I think this is a pretty straightforward win for Chris Daukaus. Minus 190, honestly, those are not bad odds. They're really not. So I think a moneyline bet is probably a solid bet here. I love him in DraftKings. And Chris Daukaus wins inside the distance. You'll get even better than minus 190. And that's the most likely outcome in this situation. So I like that there too. So you'll probably see in the betting breakdown a couple of Chris Daukaus bets here. What do you think? You agree with all of that?
Yeah, you can get Chris Daukaus. This is how, I mean, even these guys believe in him. I link a little bit more than DraftKings because by KO TKO is plus 120. So, I mean, that's still almost even money on that. So,
yeah, I'm not seeing it. And what I'll tell you right now is, so I've managed fighters for 15 years. One of the fighters that I've managed for a very long time.
So here you go, real quick before I forget. The line has actually moved to 210 for Chris Daukaus, but you can get him inside the distance decision no action for 170, which kind of covers you a little bit.
Potentially, yeah. I'll have to dig in a little deeper, but definitely a Chris Daukaus play. I've managed fighters for a while. Parker Porter is a fighter that I used to manage. We just did an interview with him, I don't know, a month or so ago for his fight. He fought Chris Daukaus on short notice, made his UFC debut, and we talked about it. We talked about the Chris Daukaus fight. And honestly, Parker was pretty candid. And what I took away from that fight is the way you beat Chris Daukaus is you light up his legs. Parker Porter landed a solid leg kick, only one. And he was saying
I don't know if
that
I've seen Shamil ever throw a leg kick.
he hasn't, and that's where I'm going with this. But just the story and then that, where when the referee was holding Parker's hand and Chris Daukaus's hand, Bruce Buffer was standing behind them with the card and saw Daukaus's leg all bright red, made a comment to Parker like, look what you did. And Daukaus looked over and nodded like, yeah. So that was one leg kick. So if Shamil factored that in, somehow works leg kicks into his game, maybe there's a potential hole there. But so far, Chris Daukaus has looked like an animal. I don't see this one going any different. Looks like, as you mentioned, the line is moving. People are onto it. I would definitely grab a bet. After we're filming, I will probably grab a few of those before the line moves too much. wewantpicks.com/bets to get your promo. Monkey knife fight line. My gut says less, but 32 strikes is nothing. What do you think?
Yeah, no comment.
Yeah, that's honestly, that is a hard monkey knife fight line. It really is. Probably less, but that's a monkey knife fight line. Monkey knife fight lines are out right now. As you're watching this, have us up in one window, play monkey knife fight in the other window before these lines move, because they do move when the money comes in.